When Leonidas goes to Thermopylae, he takes with him a royal bodyguard of 300 men. In this particular case, however, the royal bodyguard is specially selected. It is not only selected with regard to the merit of the individuals, it is also selected with regard to the fact that each individual leaves a son behind.
I think that the Spartans knew, and Leonidas knew absolutely, that they were going there to die. That was what they'd been trained for their entire lives. I think they recognized the psychological value of that for the rest of Greece that had been left behind, that they were enacting a kind of a play to inspire the rest of Greece.
To die for one's country, for the Spartans, was the highest form of honor.
In August 480 BC, the mighty Persian juggernaut lumbered to a halt across the sun-baked plain. It was an awesome spectacle of power and might. The Persian army, led by King Xerxes, was immense, at least 200,000 strong. The Greeks countered with just over 7,000 troops, including 300 of Sparta's finest hoplite warriors. Why the Spartans committed so few troops is at the core of the Spartan psyche.
Could they have done better by sending a full force? They claimed that they were intending to, but a religious festival prevented them from sending more than the advance guard. Cynics will say they had no intention of risking a full force because they knew that they were going to lose. They needed a demonstration. They needed some spectacular event, so sacrificing 300 would be absolutely the perfect solution.
The Spartans, under the command of King Leonidas, were prepared to fight to the death. When Xerxes sent a messenger demanding the Spartans lay down their arms, Leonidas replied with 2 words, Molon lobe, come and get them.
No greater contrast between the two armies, no greater contrast between the two societies to have Xerxes up on a throne, having his secretaries take notes, we have Leonidas right out in front of his men.
The mission of King Leonidas was daunting, to stall the Persians long enough for Greek generals to muster their forces at the Isthmus of Corinth. They needed time to mount a full-scale counterattack. If the vast weight of the Persian army was allowed to roll freely southward, central Greece would fall, with the Peloponnese sure to follow.
So the Greek idea at Thermopylae is quite brilliant. It's to force a stalemate and to create logistical problems for this kind of unwieldy army.
When the Greeks arrive at Thermopylae, they rebuild the wall that had been across the pass there. But the notion is that by rotation, they will send out units, Greek units, which will fight in the very constricted area immediately in front of the wall. The Persians won't be able to bring forward their full force because of the constricted terrain immediately in front of the wall.
Meanwhile, the people of Delphi consulted the oracle, which advised them to pray to the winds, for they will be good allies to Greece. No sooner had they received this counsel than a violent storm erupted. The formidable Persian navy was strung out along the harborless Magnesian coast, where more than 200 ships were destroyed. Xerxes was furious at the unexpected loss, and bewildered by the meager challenge to his mighty army at Thermopylae. The great king ordered an advance scout to take the full measure of his opponent.
When he sees the Spartans, rather than crying or offering to surrender or offering to negotiate, they're actually grooming themselves, combing their hair, putting oil on, shining their weapons. And the idea is that they're looking forward to this battle with zest rather than terror.
And so the horsemen just stood there in amazement, and they couldn't believe that these few small people were going to be trying to defend the pass.
Demaratus, the exiled Spartan king who had fled to Persia more than a decade before, was promptly summoned for counsel. King Xerxes demanded to know, how tough are these guys?
And if we brought one of them here into the court, could he kill 10 of us? And Demaratus told him, no, man for man, they're not much better than anyone else. But in a group, he said, you will find, in a cohesive unit that's going to defend this pass, you'll find they're worth many times their numbers.
The message from Demaratus was clear. Do not underestimate the Spartan warriors. Fighting was in their blood. It was a way of life. And now the scene was set. With both Greek and Persian forces prepared for battle, what would happen next would decide the future of democracy. (480 BC, late summer. The fate of the Western world was at hand. At the narrow mountain pass of Thermopylae, battle lines were drawn between Persia and Greece. 300 Spartans and 7,000 Greek allies dug in, prepared to fight a Persian army at least 200,000 strong. For the Spartans, it appeared to be a suicide mission, but they had to slow down the Persians long enough for Greece to assemble a counterattack.
When King Leonidas was leaving to defend the pass at Thermopylae, and he knew that he was going to die, his wife Gorgo, as they were saying goodbye, asked him what were his instructions to her, and he said, "Marry good men and bear good sons."
And that's the thing about the Spartans. They are ready to die. They are prepared to die. They think of death in battle for their state as truly a glorious thing.
And so, in the name of honor and glory, the Spartan soldiers stood defiant and serene, even ready to take on the huge Persian force an advance scout had warned them about.
He said that Persian archers were so numerous that when they fired their volleys, it blocked out the sun. So the one Spartan, Dionychus, said, "Good, then we'll have our battle in the shade."
On August 18th, 480 BC, 4 days after arriving at the hot gates of Thermopylae, the two sides readied for battle. The Persians' overwhelming numbers provided them with all the confidence any army could want. But the bronze and crimson Spartan phalanx stood unintimidated and ready to fight.
Typically we hear of a formation 8 ranks deep. The reason for having only 8 is the first 2-3 ranks actually fight, because you've got very long spears. Therefore, one function of the guys behind is simply to push the ones ahead into fighting. So the cohesion and the push of the back ranks is absolutely key, as key in its way as the prowess and the bravery of the guys in the front.
The Persians quickly found their vast numerical advantage was no advantage at all.
Once you've given up the idea of maneuver and the idea that Persian horsemen can play no role, then it's almost like a sieve that you've forced all of these people into a bottleneck, and the Persians have to go through bronze and iron, and they've never done that before.
And they are chopped to ribbons. In the narrow confines of the pass, heavy armor of the Greeks, their long thrusting spears, their big shields proved to be quite effective against the lighter armor, the shorter spears of the Persians.
It would be a terrible thing, noise of people screaming, people defecating, people urinating, people falling down, people being trampled, spears breaking.
And it really turns into just a scene of carnage.
The Greek phalanx was virtually impenetrable, and by early afternoon the battlefield resembled a snapshot from hell. The whole pass was littered with corpses, and the Spartans showed no sign of cracking.
The Spartan phalanx is almost like a corps de ballet in its ability to move and its ability to execute quick decisions on the battlefield and to move as a unit. And that's one of the things that makes the Spartans so formidable in battle.
Xerxes was determined to destroy the Spartan phalanx and stop the bloodbath. He ordered his personal bodyguards, known as immortals, into the fray. Only they wore anything approaching the heavy armor of the Greeks. Still, it wasn't enough. A savage battle left the king's finest troops in total disarray, and as the curtain of death fell around them, they broke off the fighting and retreated.
hoplite mentality and ideology is summable up in one phrase, which is stay your ground, or keep in your place. And what the Spartans always contributed was that steadiness, that sort of rock solidity.
With darkness falling, Xerxes abandoned the struggle. His colossal beast brought to its knees, the Persian losses in the thousands. Across the blood-spattered plain, the Greeks attended to far fewer casualties.